Screening type in Photoshop. So screening type basically means that type just appears to fade into the images below it. There's a lot of methods for doing this. There's not just one. So the easiest would be just to change the opacity of the type layer. Or we could do what's called a vectored mask method. Let's work through each one of these. I'm going to turn off my type that's warped. I have a layer here of some treats, and I'm going to make a new layer on top of it. Go to my type tool, and we can go ahead and choose a color. I could choose actually the brown from the chocolate if I wanted to make this all blend together. Click OK on this for the color, and I could choose my font, my specific font that I wanted to use. We'll go with an Arial bold, and we'll keep the style at bold so that we can see it. So let's do some text. All right, so we have text here. I'm going to click my check mark to OK to apply this. And let's go ahead and move the type over so that it's centered here. I'm going to my move tool and just moving it. All right, so I have my text. Now what I can do is just simply change the opacity of this layer. So this layer in the layers panel, I take the opacity down. And there you go. That's exactly what screening type is. It's just the way that we can use our text sort of as a more subliminal, not a main focus. I can see my imagery through those letters. So that's one method that you can do to simply just change the opacity. You can see I can bring it up a little bit more. The second method that I could do is to actually make a shape and do what's sort of a mask with it. So I need to convert the type layer into a shape layer. I'm going to make a copy of this. Let's go over the new icon here, make a copy of it. We'll turn off our original. We'll take this one and we'll bring the opacity all the way back up again. So what I need to do is I need to make this be a shape layer. It's always a good rule of thumb to make a copy or work off of a duplication, just because you might not like the effect that happens and you want to go back to what you had prior. It's also a good idea if you're going to be running a lot of effects on type and text to work off of a copy, because then you can always have that original. All right, so we've duplicated the layer. Now we're going to convert this type layer into a shape layer. And I'm going to go up under my type menu to do that. And under the type menu, all of the options related to type. And one of them is to convert to a shape. So by clicking that, look what happens to my layer. So I lose that T here. It does not look like a type layer at all. I have the little indicator here that says it's a shape layer. So it's still in vector format. Remember, shape layers are still vector, so I'm not dealing with pixels yet. But I'm not able to edit my text anymore. So now with that being a shape layer, I can actually apply an adjustment. So I have my adjustment panel here visible. If you don't have it visible, remember you can go under Window and turn it on. Over here under Adjustments, I'm going to look for my levels. So here's the Levels property panel open. And what I want to do here is to make sure I click this Adjustment Affects All Layers Below. Click to clip to the layer button. And that's this button right here. So I'm going to click that, and notice that I've made a clipping path or a clipping group. This underlines, I get my little indentation arrow just as we talked about earlier. So now I'm going to drag the input level midtone slider to the left until the middle input slider text reads around 190, and that's this one right here. And as I drag it, you can see that my text is fading, but in a different way. Okay, and so if I drag this, now I can drag my output slider, the shadow slider here, which is down here. These are the shadows. I can drag this one to the right. quite a bit, and you can see a whole different effect. In fact, if I go all the way, I take my text to being completely white. So the color of it is getting lighter. Okay, so I could do that. So this is one method, but now once I leave the properties, and I can go back and adjust this at any time. That's the benefit of using these adjustment layers. Now if I go back, I'm going to click on the text layer right here. I can take the opacity and take it back, and you can see that it's just a different effect because I have lightened up the text. So whether you do this method or this method, two different ways that you can screen back text.